Today, Bitcoin and Ether are in the red to kick off the week. A federal court rejects Kraken's motion to dismiss an SEC lawsuit against the crypto exchange. And Senator Cynthia Lummis sits down with us at the Wyoming Blockchain Symposium, where she discussed the latest on her proposal to build a U.S. strategic Bitcoin reserve. Welcome to CNBC's Crypto World. I'm Mackenzie Sigalos. Cryptocurrencies are headed lower this morning. By noon Eastern, Bitcoin dropped a little less than 1% and was trading at 63,545. Ether fell by 1.5% to 27.22, and Solana slipped a little more than 1% to 157.70. But that only tells part of the story. If we look at Bitcoin's performance since our last episode on Friday, that cryptocurrency is actually up 3.25%, while Ether's up nearly 2% in that time. Okay, let's talk about the top stories. A federal court rejected Kraken's motion to dismiss an SEC lawsuit against the crypto exchange. That's according to this court filing from Friday, which says that the defendants have 20 days to answer the complaint. The SEC charged Kraken back in November with allegedly operating as an unregistered securities exchange, broker, dealer, and clearing agency. Friday's court filing says that Kraken does not deny it never registered with the SEC, but says that it does not need to because the transactions that it enables on its platform do not involve securities and therefore do not fall within the SEC's regulatory purview. The filing goes on to say that, quote, the SEC has plausibly alleged that at least some of the cryptocurrency transactions that Kraken facilitates on its network constitute investment contracts and therefore securities and are accordingly subject to securities laws, and that the motion is denied. Now, despite the denial of Kraken's motion, the firm's chief legal officer called the court ruling on Friday a win. In a series of posts on X, Marco Santori wrote on Friday that the court ruled that none of the tokens trading on Kraken are themselves securities, which is a significant win for the crypto exchange and crypto users everywhere. He went on to say that the ruling confirms that the SEC cannot credibly regulate crypto by enforcement. We reached out to the SEC regarding Friday's development, but didn't hear back right away. Next, Telegram, which is popular with crypto users, says that it's abiding by EU laws, including the Digital Services Act, following the arrest of the messaging app CEO Pavel Durov in France over the weekend. The company posted on X yesterday that Durov has nothing to hide and that, quote, it is absurd to claim that a platform or its owner are responsible for abuse of that platform. The president of France, Emmanuel Macron, took to X to clarify that the arrest was not a political decision, but rather as part of a judicial investigation. Today, the Secretary General of a French federal agency that combats violence against minors wrote on LinkedIn that at the heart of this issue is the lack of the platform's cooperation in the fight against pedophilia. Telegram-linked Toncoin plunged following reports of Durov's detention, and as of noon Eastern, it's trading at $5.63 according to data from CoinMarketCap. At noon Saturday, prior to reports of Durov's detention, it was trading at around $6.84. Okay, so we all know that in recent months, Donald Trump has shifted his crypto stance, switching from skeptic to advocate. And the move involved the work of a small army of Bitcoiners and other crypto advocates who were able to make their way into the candidate's inner circle. In particular, 3 friends in Puerto Rico came together to try and convince the Republican presidential hopeful of Bitcoin's value and to eventually make that position known to a key audience at Bitcoin 2024 in Nashville. Now, in Bitcoin speak, Trump was orange-pilled. That's a play on the phrase red pill from the movie The Matrix, where the main character is given a choice of taking a red pill, which offers access to the unsettling truth about the world, or a blue pill, which signifies a false but far more comforting version of reality. Orange pill refers to Bitcoin's official color and represents one's dedication to the cryptocurrency over fiat currencies. Now, within the group of confidants, friends, family members, and colleagues united in their mission to orange pill Trump were the trio of Puerto Rico residents, which include a former California prosecutor and the organizer of the Bitcoin conference in Nashville. The trio spent months secretly teaching Trump about Bitcoin, and the former president's recent pro-crypto stance has led to a surge in endorsements and donations from big names in the industry, including the Winklevoss twins. Meantime, Democrats are trying to show that they can find common ground with the crypto industry despite the tension that has surfaced in recent years from the Biden-Harris administration and the heavy regulatory hand of SEC Chair Gensler. In fact, last week, Harris's campaign advisor reportedly said that the Democratic nominee would take a more supportive stance on emerging tech like crypto. All right, sticking with politics for our main story. Crypto World's Tanea McKeel sat down with Wyoming Senator Cynthia Lummis last week at the Blockchain Symposium in the Cowboy State, where the two discussed the latest on her recently announced bill to build a strategic Bitcoin reserve. She also weighs in on Washington's progress to pass crypto regulation.
Senator Lummis, it is lovely to see you again. Thank you so much for joining us in this beautiful setting here in your home state. The last time we spoke, you were just revealing your proposal for a strategic Bitcoin reserve, and I think hoping for a substantive sort of feedback period here between now and the end of the year. How's that going?
Well, it's going really well. We had proposed that we use our gold certificates, mark them to market, sell them for US dollars, invest US dollars in Bitcoin, store it untouched for 20 years, and 1 million Bitcoin would reduce our current debt in half. So it is a play to back the US dollar. It's also a play to make sure that our debt is being retired and having a strategy for it. So I continue to visit with members of the Senate about that concept. We know this is something that's not ready for 2024 primetime legislation, but it will be in 2025.
Is there any good feedback you've gotten, constructive or otherwise, that has been eye-opening to you?
I haven't seen any feedback that leads me to believe that we're not on the right track. The feedback I've gotten so far is what we usually hear about digital assets, that they're volatile and that this is not the kind of volatile asset that can underpin the US dollar. What people aren't seeing is how much less volatility there is now than there was at the beginning of Bitcoin in 2009, and how volatility as the asset grows will continue to be reduced. So it's just an exercise in getting feedback from people about what makes them uncomfortable and then trying to address their questions. Usually their questions are based on, a lack of in-depth study of Bitcoin. And I can see why people are reluctant to take that deep dive, just because you really have to spend some time at it. And people who are busy with all kinds of policy issues find it hard to find the time to study an asset that's unfamiliar to them. But they will, because they have to. The entire world's going to be digital. And we have to lead in this area. Right now, we're not leading. And that's just not where the United States needs to be.
It's an interesting point you make about volatility, because that is such an inherent quality of Bitcoin, and you still do see a bunch of that volatility. But you're right, if you look back 10 or more years, it does slowly become more and more reduced. Volatility in August, it's typically not there. It's usually a sleepy month, but we have had some volatility in recent weeks, and the election has become kind of a theme for the crypto markets here. So I want to pivot a little bit. Senator Schumer made kind of a splash, I think it was a couple of weeks ago now, where he said on the Crypto for Harris call that he was pushing to get crypto legislation passed, and said that he thought it could be done by the end of this year. What would make that something that you could put your support behind?
Well, I'm very encouraged by those remarks. We know there's legislation in the Senate Ag Committee, because the commodities portion of digital assets, which really is Bitcoin and Ethereum for now, are under the jurisdiction of the Senate Ag Committee, because the Commodity Futures Trading Commission falls under their jurisdiction. And so there is a bill that can prove to be the vehicle to kickstart the Senate's debate on digital asset regulation. So the fact that Senator Schumer, who is in the very best position to move this forward and use his clout as the Senate leader to do so, it just makes me encouraged.
There have been two key themes on legislation. So, there's market infrastructure and there's stable coins. Is there one or the other that you see having a better chance of getting through first, maybe not necessarily this year, but the first one?
Well, once a bill gets out of the Senate Ag Committee and goes to the floor, then all kinds of amendments can be added. So the way I envision it happening, if Senator Schumer chooses to exercise his leadership and his position to move it forward, is that a bill that is CFTC based comes out of the Ag Committee to the Senate floor, at which point the SEC portion could be added, the stablecoin portion could be added, and it could become a larger financial services type of bill. So if it happens, that's how I see it happening.
We know you've been very supportive of the Bitcoin industry, and you've put your name behind some stablecoin legislation. Crypto, of course, goes beyond Bitcoin, and symbolically, it's one of the things that makes it fun to be at this conference here in the state, which historically has pushed the boundaries of financial innovation. We're talking so much at this event about the future of crypto and digital assets. What are some key themes that are of interest to you? What do you see as sort of the next big thing to tackle in the crypto space?
Well, I'm learning a lot more now about utility tokens, the notion that something could be on the blockchain that establishes property rights and how that can benefit all kinds of businesses. The applications are almost limitless. And so it is the component of digital assets that really is more a store of property rights as a Bitcoin, as a blockchain ledger that I'm learning more about and trying to appreciate and understand where regulation is not necessary and where we should let this industry run and innovate and grow, or where matters like data privacy need to be protected in that process. So I'm learning a lot about that component of the cryptocurrency world.
Okay, that's all for Crypto World today, but we'll be back again tomorrow, and we'll see you then.